Kira, let's start with you. Just from what you've seen, how is this team going to be a little bit different maybe than what you had last year?
You know, we lost really good players in Kate Liveringhouse and Jazz Trimboli last year, and my sister, you know, who didn't end up finishing the season, but, you know, was a huge part of the team. But I think this year we're just going to bring back a lot of experience. We had a lot of young girls get experience last year. The three of us got, you know, one more year under our belts. And so I think having maybe a more veteran squad is going to make a difference, especially in, you know, tight games, places where experience and composure kind of play a role.
Okay, Allison, then now that you girls are the veteran players, and how do you work in the new girls, and what have you seen from them, and what's the progress report, I guess, thus far with that group?
I'd say so far the freshmen have been doing a really good job. I think all the girls would agree that our offense is kind of a difficult offense to learn. There's a lot of movement. It's hard to predict what's going to happen. Right now, I think they're adjusting, but they're adjusting quickly, and so I think they'll be a great asset to our team.
Kira, leading scorer last year, how are you looking to transition into more of a leadership role this year?
You know, like Allison said, our offense is really fluid. So I think that one of the most amazing things about it is that any given game, anybody can be the leading scorer. But I think stepping into an upperclassman role this year, going from a sophomore to a junior, it's now more my responsibility and the responsibility of all of us to not only look out for ourselves during games or off the floor, but for the younger girls, being able to be the ones to bring the team together when things aren't going well, being more vocal on the floor. Those are all things that I think we're all ready to step into positions of this year.
Madison, obviously the offense is deadly. How do you feel about the defense this year? What should we look for from them?
I guess right now we're really focusing on man-to-man and being able to guard one-on-one, and that will help us, especially with the tougher teams and especially in our non-conference coming up. But that's one thing we've been really focusing on and improving on that.
Kira, obviously a lot of success last year for this team in conference. How do you girls use that as maybe a motivator to build off going into this season, but also turn the page and know it is a new season?
Yeah, we had a really fun conference season last year. Unfortunately, it didn't quite end like we wanted to in the Summit League tournament, and even though we were able to finish well in the WNIT, we still kind of have a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouth from that Summit League tournament. So I think that's been definitely acting as a motivator for us, because we know that there's more that we can do and more that we can achieve, and we can kind of go into the season with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder because of that.
Madison, is there anything, given that experience and that success, was there anything that you all identified through your coaching staff or individually as areas you really need to get better at if you want to continue this run of success that you've been on?
I guess for us, I mean, we've really been focusing on the defense and guarding the better players and staying one-on-one so we don't have to scramble. But overall, I mean, we can improve on everything. But I think with our team, which is really tough for other teams to guard, is we all can shoot, we all can drive, we all can post up. Even though, yeah, you might not want to see me under the basket all that much, but we all work on every aspect of the game every day, which gives us confidence to score in any spot on the court.
Allison, given the undefeated run through the conference last year, Kira said maybe came up a little bit short of what you wanted. Does it feel maybe like a different position this year, that maybe you're not the one chasing people, now people are going to be chasing you? Does it feel a little different that way?
You know, honestly, I feel like right now we're not even really focused on the games coming up and whether we were successful last season or not. Right now, I think we're focusing on us, and the first game and the only game that we're concerned about right now is Creighton. So whatever happens from there happens.
How Allison, from what you've seen so far, how have the incoming freshmen been developing this season so far?
I kind of mentioned earlier, our offense is a difficult offense to learn. I think they're slowly but surely beginning to adjust to it, and I think they're learning well, and will continue to grow as the season progresses. It'll be good to get a few scrimmages coming up. It'll be good to have a few games when they can really see what it's all about, and things will just start making more sense as you play against other teams. So.
Madison, speaking of the offense, are you feeling more comfortable all the time running the offense? You're kind of becoming a veteran at it. Is this coming into this season? Do you feel a little more comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, every game, every year you add on, you get a little more comfortable, especially with the practice. But, I mean, it comes with working with the team every day and working on it in practice. I guess you just take one game one by one and learn from each game, maybe what mistakes or what things you did good on, and just work with that.
Ellison, you've had a couple years with this coach, with Dawn. Over that time, if you were going to say that this is a brand, that this is the Coach P's brand of basketball, what are some things that are involved in that?
It's been really cool to see, like, going from my freshman year into my sophomore year and seeing how, like, the program itself has changed since Coach P has been here. It's awesome to see how players have adjusted to what she's bringing to the program. Her offense is quick-tempoed, a lot of movement, which was a little different than my freshman year. She really teaches us how to work hard, and we always talk about finishing the play, whether that's diving on the ball, taking a charge. She really emphasizes that, and I think we're adjusting really well to it, and I think that's a huge component that's brought to this team this year.
Well, certainly. Thank you, Brittany. First of all, thank you all for coming today. This means it's real. Basketball season is here. It's upon us, right around the corner. And to have the support that we have from all of you coming to games, watching us, covering our program, the support that you give us, we certainly appreciate. You know, moving into this year, since last season, our kids have been working at it and getting after it. Our young ladies have been put through some very rigorous schedules in terms of training and improving, and really have responded extremely well. It was mentioned earlier, we graduated 3 seniors last year in Caitlin Duffy, Jasmine Trimboli, and Kate Liveringhouse. This year, moving forward, we have a great core of returners coming back. I think they've done a tremendous job of kind of taking their turn in the leadership position and are continuing to grow and are doing a great job with it. The characteristics of this group that are probably unique, that maybe wouldn't normally get talked about in media day, I'm going to talk about. So the three things that I love about this team, absolutely love. One is that they really care. They really want to do well, but they also care about each other. They love each other. They respect each other. They cheer for each other. If you watched our bench last year, you probably got a little glimpse of that. They do the same thing in practices, but they really care about seeing their teammates succeed. The second thing is that they compete. They're very ferocious competitors. They do this in the classroom. Last year, we had a 3.5 team GPA. This year they're doing the same thing, and they're really working at it. They take their competitive juices, whether it's on the basketball court or in the classroom, and this is a group that loves to compete. Then the third thing about them, and this is not on the court, this is certainly not on the court, but we're working on this on the court, is that they communicate extremely well. I'm very proud of our 3 young ladies who were up here today, but also just proud of them for how they carry themselves in our community. They were tremendous coaches this summer. I think our coaches might be out of a job pretty soon because our young ladies did such a good job in our camps, in our clinics, in community service. They just did a great job of being ambassadors for themselves, for their families, for our program, our athletic department, our entire university. I think our young ladies are really special people in those categories, and excited about having an opportunity to coach them and help them grow. When we look ahead to this season, we are very different from last year. We'll talk about that in a minute, but when we look ahead at our season, we've got a very challenging non-conference season ahead of us, and our conference continues to get better in and of itself. And so we really are going to have to continue to make strides forward, and I think this group has, in order to be competitive in those games. Our non-conference schedule, I had a little flashback to my first conversation with David Herbster and Dave Williams, and at the end of that conversation, we talked about scheduling philosophy. What was their scheduling philosophy? What's our scheduling philosophy? And how do we put those two together? And certainly they've been very, very gracious and very, very supportive of helping us build our schedule. Our associate head coach, Jason Jeske, has really taken the lead on it and has put together a non-conference schedule for us that will be the toughest non-conference schedule in USD women's basketball history. So we're looking forward to that. We have a very good balance of great mid-major opponents. We have a very good balance of some major, high-major opponents. We have a balance of playing some of those games on the road, some of those at home, some of those in a neutral site. So just looking ahead to that, we really have our work cut out for us. What that's going to do for us is tell us very early on in the season where we're at and what we need to do to get better with those challenges ahead. This group of young ladies, like I said, has a great core of returners. Allison Arns, as our senior, has done a great job. We've seen her on the court make great strides in her sophomore and junior campaigns, and this year is just doing a really good job of being a leader for us on both ends of the court, and yet her skill level continues to improve. In the junior class for us, we have 3 young ladies who've played quite a few minutes so far. In Madison McKeever, who led us in steals last year, was our starting point guard. Kira Duffy, who's obviously had a great career and I think continues to really see the challenges ahead and how she can continue to get better and be a leader for us on the court. And Taylor Frederick. Taylor Frederick is a young lady who has played some very significant minutes for us, has really been a defensive stopper, but is someone who offensively is really rising to the challenge, is becoming a lot more versatile and a lot more confident in her skill set. In our sophomore class returners, we have Chloe Lamb, who played some significant minutes for us, played about 20 minutes a game last year. Monica Arns, who played maybe 10 to 15 minutes a game for us. Just true to the Arns family, is about as tough as you could ever imagine. Liv Korngable and Claudia Kunzer did not play a lot of minutes for us last year, but they really, really rallied our troops on the bench. They did a tremendous job of being our kids that got us going in this year. We anticipate they're going to be on the court at a much greater rate, much higher rate. At the same time, within that same group, I want to mention Megan Bonar, who really is in our junior class, but has really been with Liv and with Claudia in terms of doing the things in practice to help us get ready. Megan, you have not seen healthy. We haven't had a chance to see her healthy yet. Just had surgery a few months ago and is coming back from that. Someone who adds some length and some size to our program and is really continuing to develop and progress. In our newcomers, we've added some size and some length. So this year in our newcomer class, although I'm not sure if she's a sophomore or junior, I don't know how these all work when you look at transfer kids, but Hannah Shervin is about 6'2". She has about a 6'5" wingspan. So she adds a dimension to our game that we didn't see last year on the court. We've added some length. We mentioned Megan Bonar, who now is getting closer to being healthy. That adds some length. She's about 6'1". She's really long and athletic as well. And 2 of our freshmen that come in, both of them are about 6'1", in Allison Peplowski out of Michigan and Reagan Sankey. Both of them we anticipate to be on the court helping us in certain situations with some of the size that we didn't have last year. And then we've added 2 walk-ons in Courtney Schoenbeck and Taylor Taranas, who have done a tremendous job of being there in practice and helping us get ready. So our crew is excited for the challenges ahead. I think we've got some growing to do because when we add size and some length, we still want to maintain the versatility. Last year we were smaller than almost everyone that we played, but we found a way to be successful with that. We saw some challenges when we played some really big teams, so we tried to address some of those concerns, add some size, but we still want to maintain that versatility that we had on the court last year that made us good. And so we're looking forward to it. But with that, I'll open it up to questions. Really good hustle, Ryan. You are going to be better defensively this year. I can see it already.
Could you talk a little bit about Hannah and maybe some of the potential there for her to help you out this year?
Right. Hannah Shervin is someone who I think is very, very different than any of the post kids that we've had here in our first 2 years. Abby Fogg is probably the most similar type of a post kid in her size and and her length. Hannah's more of a physical post presence and is someone that we can throw the ball to around the basket, and she's long and strong and athletic and comes up with it. So on the offensive end, she gives us someone to throw the ball to around the basket in a different way than we've had. Kate Liveringhouse was someone who really grew in her versatility during her 2 seasons with us, and I think she really adjusted well to that, and Hannah's on that wavelength right now. Hannah, in her redshirt season, her year of residency, they call it, as she transferred and had to sit out and not play last year, I thought she did a tremendous job of getting in the weight room and getting in the gym. And here's a 6'2" kid working on ball handling skills and shooting threes, and just really, really grew her game and continues to do that. So like Kate went from, I think, shooting, she was 0 for 2. She only took 2 arc shots in her first 2 seasons. In her senior year, Kate shot 73 times and shot it at a 39% clip. So we're looking for Hannah to progress down that path and be someone who not only can give us some size inside to throw it to, but also be a force on the perimeter as well.
Coach, we talked about some of the players who have left the program, which means some of the players who were there coming off of the bench maybe have a different role going into this season. How is the development outside of maybe the starters and kind of trying to grow that bench and the depth that can come on it and make an impact?
That's a great question, John. Certainly we have some young ladies. We talked about Chloe and Monica, who did see some, and Taylor, who saw some significant minutes, but now their role will change. Now they'll be on the court more often, potential for some of them to be in the starting lineup possibly. Who knows how that's going to all work out. We still have it. How many days do we have left? 19, 20? Some days. Anyway, we have 2.5 weeks yet to figure that out, what that looks like. But their roles will change in terms of now they need to step up and they need to do it from the beginning of the game or close to the beginning of the game and consistently throughout the game. And so the wear and tear that way. I really believe that Liv Korngable, Claudia Kunzer are 2 young ladies that you didn't have a chance to see a whole lot last year, but are 2 young ladies that can be difference makers for us and provide some of that added depth that we need in different spots in different games. Right now we're really aggressive in practice, and that means we foul an awful lot. So right now we have to figure out how to do this so we don't have to use quite as much depth because of that reason, but that's the reason that we have to go to the bench. And last year, first game of the season, we put Iowa State at the free throw line for quite a few times, so we have to learn how to be aggressive but also be smart.
Can you talk a little bit more specifically, Dawn, about Chloe and just her progress year 1 to year 2? Obviously came in and gave you some very valuable minutes and some very valuable production at different times last year and at a relatively consistent clip. But just that jump from first year to second year, high school to college to second year college, and where she's at with all that.
Well, so here's a young lady that played in the state championship in the state of South Dakota and played at Sully Buttes High School, small town, and then her first collegiate game is against a Big 12 team at Iowa State. And so what was impressive about that is that in that scenario, it really didn't faze her. She played in the Michigan State game and hit the 3 to put us up 1 in overtime, and she has the flu, and her teammates are all excited, and she's like, okay, all right, now what's next? Now we have to get a stop. So she's a very mature young lady in terms of her understanding of the game. She's very composed. So her development this year has been not only to become a better, more consistent player on both ends of the court, but also to really start stepping up into a leadership role pretty young in her career as a sophomore. She's versatile enough to play the point guard for us, but also be an off guard for us. In our style, it really doesn't matter who brings the ball up the court, so we can use those terms, but in all reality, she just pushes the ball up the court and looks to attack.
Coach, every coach in a new season, they always want to talk about it's a new season, it's a new team, and different challenges and circumstances. But the core of this group saw a lot of success last year with an undefeated regular season in the Summit League. How do you compartmentalize that so that they can use that experience to maybe build into more success, but also get them to understand it is a new season and what you did last year really ultimately doesn't affect this year?
Well, that was a really good question for you, John. I'm really kind of quite impressed. Compartmentalized. Were you practicing this question? That was really well done. I would say that our goal is to do very common things. We want to be a team that gets the ball around the basket, and if we have good shots, take them. If we don't, kick it out, but space the floor while we're doing that. So what we want to do is play very easy basketball, simple basketball, do very common things, but be very uncommon in them. We want to do it a little bit better than we have in the past and see where that leads us. And so the experiences that our young ladies have had can give them the confidence that we can do simple things well and have success with them, but at the same time, we wipe the slate clean. We don't even talk about that. If we show some film clips from last year, it's because there's some specific area we need to get better at moving the basketball, or we need to get better at guarding in transition, or we need to get better at rebounding. And so we don't talk about it, but hopefully in the back of their minds they keep that piece and keep the confidence, but also understand that we're building right now, and we're building for this year, and this year is going to have very different challenges, starting with Creighton in our first matchup, and a team that's been to 2 NCAA tournaments, and then we can go down that whole list. It's a very impressive list of non-conference opponents that we play.
Last year it was you and SDSU and everybody else down here. You're picked 1 and 2 again. Do you see that again in the Summit League this year a little bit? You guys are just kind of seem to be heads above everybody else?
Well, I think the Summit League has continued to improve in terms of RPI, and we've talked about that a bunch of different times, but really where it was 4 years ago, or 5 years ago now, from 25th to 18th to 11th, and then last year maybe we took a little step back and we went to 12th. There has to be some consistency across a lot of teams in the conference in order to have an RPI at that level. I don't know if you're supposed to say RPI that high or RPI that low. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say that, but an RPI that's in continuing to improve. With that, I think the addition of North Dakota this year makes our conference even better. And so I look for our conference to continue to have an RPI that continues to get better. And I think if you look around our conference, the Summit League teams and the non-conference scheduling, there's some very, very good opponents, and I think that's going to just help our Summit League teams not only prepare for Summit League action, but also continue to work to build a name for our conference.
What would you say would be maybe the next step for Allison Arns? Because you talked about her skill sets improving.
In terms of her skill sets?
Yeah.
Allison is someone who is really working on becoming a great one-on-one defender for us right now, and with her strength and her athleticism, keeping her in balance, guarding on the ball is really important, and giving her kind of that role to be our defensive stopper. Last year that was Jasmine Trimboli for us, and she was the best defender not only on our team but the best defender in the conference. And so Allison's had an opportunity to see someone right in front of her be that player to guard multiple positions. Jasmine at whatever she was, 5'9", maybe 5'10", was someone who would guard point guards and post kids, and I think Allison with her size can do some of the same type of things. So that's really where, from a skill set, really focusing on.